Unknown Heroes and Their Secrets. It's the story of the New Bedford Underground Railroad. It is really the story of regular citizens keeping secrets. So, and just to give you a little background first, New Bedford was originally settled or occupied, let's say, by the Native Americans, the Wampanoags. And they were known as the people of the light. The next group that came in are the Quakers. The Quakers were known as the children of the light. Okay. We became a whaling port, so very important oil. So that's where we get City That Lit the World. Okay. And in the words of the president of the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, the Underground Railroad is how people of extraordinary vision, will, and love of liberty came together to shine the light of liberty. So New Bedford has a lot of light surrounding it. Now, slavery was outlawed in the Massachusetts State Constitution in 1783. And as I said, the Quakers settled basically in New Bedford and the eastern part of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And the Quaker faith has this tenet that says everyone has the same light of God within them. Now that does not necessarily mean they saw everybody as equal per se, but what they did sort of profess was that everyone was a child of God. Everyone had the right to be and to exist and to have sort of a sense of their own life. So given those two things and the fact that we were a whaling port, it set the stage for the Underground Railroad for it to be a place where people were free and welcome. Now, I tend to be more of a storyteller than a historian, so do feel free to ask me if you're looking for dates and stuff. That's why I carry my little business cards. I try to put dates down and things, and I'll refer to them at times so that you'll have a sense of what I'm talking about. But I am sort of a storyteller. Let's see if I can find them. Here is Frederick and Anna. Okay. Frederick was about 19 years old. Anna was a little bit older. Anna was a free black in Maryland, and they met, and he let her know that he wanted to escape. They fell in love. And so, but Frederick said he would not marry her until he was free. Well, that gave Anna a little motivation too, I think. And so they started figuring out exactly what they were going to do. And what was decided is that Frederick would get some Siemens protection papers. And we'll talk a little bit more about these in a little while. But the Siemens protection papers were something that every seaman needed to have. It didn't matter what color you were. The captains wanted you to have these in order to board a ship. And so, if you were a seaman, you had them, if you were free. So the first thing is that Frederick was able to obtain that. The next thing that happened is Anna wanted to make it official in the sense that make it really look good. And so she made him a sailor's outfit. So now he looked like a sailor, and he had seaman protection papers. Okay. So she was a free woman, so she had saved some money. She saved some money, and she gave it to Frederick along with the protection papers and his outfit, and he boarded the train. People felt that way if they escaped slavery and they saw all the Quakers walking about. It made them feel a little safe. But you still don't have any money. You're a slave. You don't have any money. What are you going to do? So one of the things people started looking at is, where are you going to stay? Well, you could stay, I guess, in, an abandoned whale ship or on the street corner or wherever. But in New Bedford, a lot of people escaping slavery actually stayed in boarding houses. We had a lot of them. This corner, again, before the Great Whaling Wall of New Bedford, looked like this. Okay, it had all the little shops underneath, and then the men would rent space up above. There were also a lot of boarding houses, real houses. A lot of these were run by women. Your man, your husband is out to sea for 3 or 4 years. You start to run out of money. You move all the kids into one room and you rent out the rest of them. And that's how you keep body and soul together. So many of the people escaping slavery would seek out a boarding house, and they would allow people to stay for a certain length of time for free if they were able to work. So perhaps a woman might work in the kitchen, the man might chop wood or help maintain the building or whatever, but they were allowed to stay. So that was a very important thing here in New Bedford. Now we only have one case, one documented case, I should say, of someone coming into New Bedford and attempting to take someone back into slavery. And that's another story I'll tell you about Mary. Now again, I spoke of the 1850 law, fugitive slave law. Half of it was the blackbirding issue. Another part of that law said that as American citizens, it was your responsibility to assist the law officials in returning property to its rightful owner. So if you knew someone who had escaped slavery and you were aware of it, and you didn't call the police or the marshals or whatever and assist them in sending them back, then you could be sent to jail yourself. So, Mary was working at the Franklin House, one of the little boarding houses in the area. And one evening, Mr. Wim, a representative of her owner, and the marshal from Baltimore, Maryland, showed up at the door and attempted to put irons or handcuffs on Mary and take her back. Well, Mary did what I would have done, like, ah! So she, ah! And everybody in the boarding house came to find out what was going on. There was a scuffle. Mary was able to scoot out the back, and the marshal and Mr. Wim were very not nicely shown the door and sort of shuffled out of town. Mary was never captured. Well, the interesting thing about that story and how we know that it occurred is that the story appeared in the newspaper under the heading, "Attempted Kidnapping." Okay, so we're all supposed to be helping the marshals, right? So what does New Bedford do? They put it right in the newspaper that not only don't we believe in law, we're not following the law, and we think that you're breaking the law by kidnapping someone. Well, that came back to bite us in the you-know-where later, and we'll get to that story as well. But it was very important for people to understand that those boarding houses were part of the Underground Railroad, even though officially they weren't. Here along the street that were involved in the Underground Railroad. Across the street is going to be Abolitionist Park, Abolitionist Road Park. Hasn't been constructed yet. It's in the process of being designed and constructed. Now, one of the things that Frederick Douglass said, and I'll quote him, is that the most astonishing as well as the most interesting thing to me was the condition of the colored people. A great many of them, like myself, had escaped thither as a refuge from the hunters of men. I found many who had not been 7 years out of their chains, living in finer houses and evidently enjoying more of the comforts of life than the average slaveholder in Maryland. Frederick Douglass believed that the North was poor. That's why they didn't have slaves. They had to be poor. And he thought for sure that the people of color had to be living in very poor conditions. Well, when he arrived in New Bedford and he started looking around, he couldn't believe what he saw. Okay. Especially when he got up here to 7th Street. He had been told to find the Johnsons. This is the Johnsons' house. Nathan and Polly Johnson were a free couple of color. Okay. Nathan owned a grocery store and a bathhouse, and Polly was a confectioner. Polly made ice cream and cookies and candies and all of that.